What is going on, everybody? I am BDLM, coming to you with my buddy J4Y, bringing you episode number 14 of our Dota On Demand podcast. What's going on, buddy?
Not too much. I had a funnier intro the first time we tried this that you
Great.
screwed up. So now,
Well,
I'm just not as funny. How are you?
well, you rarely are funny in the first
I
place.
know, that's
so
why it was so awesome. But
we needed to
no.
catch it on camera, but fortunately did not. I'm doing all right. It's a delightful Tuesday evening. I have some work I have to do tomorrow for school, so I'm gonna be up late. But other than that, I'm doing pretty fantastic. By the way, just to start this all off, shout out to some of our nice little fans.
Yeah, I just wanted to call a couple people out here. 11 Him. I thank you for the comment on the awesome Plantronic headset I got going here. I mean, obviously not all of us have the cool headset, but some invest way more money and it's not even as good, but that's okay. But yeah, keep watching. Oh, and Reester96, thank you for the update on how to pronounce Milonier. How do you think you say that?
No, see, I think just like poking fun out of love. I'm just gonna refer to it as Mjolnir from now on, just because it's hilarious. Yeah, see, there's what's the other? Oh, mechanism.
Oh yeah.
Like some people are convinced it's mechanism, but I feel
It's
like
not.
if it was supposed to be mechanism, there would be an I in there because it's so close. So
I'm
mechanism.
with
That
you.
one,
That one I'm with
I'll meet.
you.
Yeah, I'll meet you viewers halfway. I'll pronounce it Mjolnir from now on.
Absolutely.
Will not pronounce it mechanism though. So
I'll probably
that's
call it Malgeneer still. So
okay. You have to put up with Jay with being bad, but for the rest of us, we'll do it flawlessly every time, referring to it as Mjolnir.
anyways.
Anywho's, getting into this cast, we are here to celebrate the arrival of Outworld Destroyer
Yes.
to the game. Very awesome here to talk about. Before we get to there, we have some other news, updates, cool things to talk about, starting with some of the shuffling that's been going around in the competitive scene, picking up and dropping teams. Actually, Ariana, formerly known as Panzer, they kind of disbanded, unfortunately. Apparently, some of the players were, really interested in playing competitively now that they'd picked up some sponsorship, but some of the other players just weren't feeling it, so that kind of fell apart there. And then, of course, North American Fire. Go ahead, Jay.
Oh man, they got picked up already by Complexity Gaming, actually, which is really cool. They're very well known in a different couple genres, not actually in the Dota scene, but now they are, I guess you could say. And I mean, we do. It's funny. I mean, they're on, not literally on fire, but they're doing really well. I was like, no, I don't think
Great.
they're actually on fire. But I mean, I could ask Fluff and stuff. I don't think so though.
They have
Um,
such good focus that they just play lit on fire. Just
That's
quick, end the
impressive.
game
I mean-
faster. I need to put myself out.
Yeah, so yeah, but they've been on a hot streak. Actually, some people, I think Gosu Gamers already rated them number one in the world, which is pretty
Wow.
awesome. So I mean, yeah, maybe they're on a hot streak. We'll have to see how this pans out. Hopefully, they continue to be a dominating force. Bring some more competition to the scene. The more, the better. Obviously, we like to see these teams come out and do well. So yeah, that's cool. They're picked up by a sponsor now. Let's see what else I got here. So Moscow 5, who's been around the scene forever, they've been having some issues with their sponsor, unfortunately, the Moscow 5 sponsor, and they did drop that, and now they're actually picked up by Darer. I think it's Darer Gaming, but it's just Darer, Darer. I haven't personally heard of this sponsorship, but apparently it's kind of well known in the gaming, and I don't know, gaming industry, I suppose.
I think it's pronounced Mjolnir.
We'll have to get Reester's opinion after this. And actually, that's got art style. So people remember from the International, he was on the original Navi team, and then he decided to leave due to reasons. But now he's on this team. He's psyched. He's got his team pumped up. So we'll have to look out for this Dara team to see if they can step up and do some awesome performances. Another note, Team DD, who used to be SK Gaming, is now picked up by Quantic Gaming.
Very cool.
So that name's pretty common. I know in StarCraft at least, Quantic Gaming's a pretty competitive force. But so now they have a Dota 2 team, and obviously DD is a very very impressive team. They're all the top, tiers of play. So, yeah, a lot of sponsorships going up. It's always good to see these, like it's good to see that they're being acknowledged. And it's going to just bring more teams, I guess, in there. You know what I mean? Like people are going to want to get sponsored.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm sure Fire winning that tournament definitely part of what got them that sponsorship. A lot of these teams. It's good to see that there are groups out there willing to sponsor some of these teams to help keep them going competitively. So that's of course nice to see. Speaking of competitive play, you had that nice crazy little Valentine's Day tournament to talk about too.
Man,
Yeah.
I have so much to talk about this cast. I get like a full 10-minute block to myself.
I just
I'm
want
loving
to take
it.
a nap over here.
You
and then...
should, because you obviously don't keep up with this cool stuff. So I think Joint Dota hosted it. I'm not 100%. I know they casted it. But basically it was called the Celebrity Challenge. And it was a 2v2 middle. And what the rules were was that it's either the first team to get to 10 kills or to push 3 towers, so get into the base tower and push it, would win the game. And it was basically one professional player, and it was actually by country. So like there's Team US, Team Canada, Team Asia, Team Europe, that kind of thing. And so there's like one famous person, like Dendi, Demon. I'm not going to name them all because I don't know them all, unfortunately. And they're matched up with, I don't know where these chicks are coming from, but there's some chicks that apparently are known in the Dota world. So, yay, bringing people to watch, I guess. I don't know. Actually, they were pretty good, though. After watching a couple of these games, they were playing better than I could by a long shot. So,
yay, Dota players get to interact with women. Yeah.
sometimes it happens, believe it or not. And actually, it's cool, though. What basically, this whole point of this was to try to raise money for a charity called Child's Play, I guess, which encourages getting out there, being active, and I don't know. The point is they raised $1,300, which is actually a decent amount for some quick half-day tournament. And what I really want to talk about this tournament, though, was the finals of it end up being Dendi and Furryfish, that was his partner, versus Demon and Sarai. I don't know that name, sorry.
Your pronunciation.
Hey, Molyneux. Okay, we should stop mocking that. Not yet. We'll get there though. And so basically, they chose for this 2v2 members, 2 people in middle lane. Dendi and Furryfish decided to go with Marana and Dazzle. Wow, mine's slipping. And they went up against an Axe and Warlock lane. And right off the bat, I was like, Dazzle Marana, I feel like I'm just going to crush this. I mean, first of all, they're double range. Dazzle's got his thing that makes someone live for an extra 5 seconds after they're about to die. Heals to push the lane and, keep them in the sustain. And I'm like, what? I mean, Warlock, I guess, kind of has a heal, but Axe has to get up in their face and spin. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. And then within, a first couple minutes, I realized why that makes so much sense. Oh, my God. Warlock is OP. OP.
Mm-hmm.
Should I explain, or are you going to have a comment in there?
I mean, you can go ahead and explain the premise so that I can...
See something to talk about?
Yes.
Oh, you could talk about Furryfish.
Well, yeah, I know so much about that.
That player.
That individual.
Thank you. So basically, Warlock, his Fatal Bonds got, I guess, buffed, you could say. It used to scale with how each rank, it would be more, I think, a higher % of damage. And then they changed it to just be a flat amount at rank 1. So that doesn't change anymore. And then it's just the number of units bonded together increases as you rank it up. And so apparently that is ridiculously strong early on, especially in lane phase, and actually throughout the game, let's be honest, that always is going to actually be effective, because eventually it goes up to 6 units together, but it starts at 3. And that, coupled with Axe, who spins all day long against the creeps, puts that battle hunger that does I think it's literally the highest damage per second move in the game. You can correct me if I'm
total
wrong.
damage?
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Total damage, if it doesn't get interrupted. So, put those two together, and if you can get both heroes and some of the creeps fatal bonded together, Oh my god, there's not enough heals in the world to keep you alive.
And then you have Shadow Word as well, so just so much
Oh
dot
yeah.
damage there. Yeah. Hmm.
I mean, it was just interesting because first of all, you never see Warlock picked up in the competitive scene ever, and he just kind of fell face earth. He's got a really strong ultimate, which is a beautiful initiation with that summons that big infernal dude. I don't know what he's called in the game actually. He's just a rager.
Good job.
I was gonna call him an infernal, but that's actually not his name. But yeah, I mean, he's got a great initiation, great stun there. Like I just explained, the Fatal Bond's super deadly. Shadow Word for sustain if you want it. And then let's not talk about Upheaval, because that's just a disappointing third move. But all around, though, he's actually, I feel like throughout the whole game, he brings a lot to the table, and he's just really underrated. And I really wonder if there's these lineups, these comps, maybe these competitive teams could think of that would really make use of that Fatal Bonds.
I mean, we've seen it already. There was a couple games pretty close together. It might have even been in the same series where Warlock and Venomancer were picked up and put on the same team. And yeah, between the Fatal Bonds and then the Veno ulti and the Shadow Word, I remember specifically one time a triple kill like 10 seconds after the fight had ended because just so much damage was being dealt out to all those heroes. So yeah, definitely Dots seems very effective. Of course, but yeah, being able to do that additional damage is fantastic for team fights, and yeah, like you said, long range initiation is always nice to have. So, yeah, I mean, I still like the Upheaval too. You figure all of his abilities, they're not channels or anything, so we can just throw those up there and then try and keep everybody together for his team to tear apart. So, yeah, hopefully we do get to see him. Unfortunately, we don't.
Yeah, I know, but either way.
Can't win them all.
Warlock OP.
There you go. Here we will see, of course, now that he's in the captain's pool, is Clinks. He finally joins the ranks of the pickable heroes this week. I think it's funny, I was watching a video of a game that had been played recently, and it was on Join Dota, so Cinderin was casting with Toby, and he was like, yeah, he was talking a little bit about Clinks. Yeah, it's so weird. He doesn't really have a clearly defined role. And I think it was so funny because when we were talking about it, I was like, yeah, I see Clinks. He does one thing, and that's it. It's like gank push, and that's the whole deal.
Yeah.
So I think it's funny how you can have two completely different mindsets for a hero. And I mean, it's really nice, too, that you think about it. You can just have two completely different ways of thinking about a hero. And when there's so many different heroes that you could do that for, just so many different crazy combinations you could have. I think one of the neat things about him, too, is you think with Destroyer coming in, obviously we haven't talked about him yet, but I think that you could have some really cool things with the Essence Aura, being able to actually give him some mana to use to help push and gank with. Stuff we're definitely going to have to talk about once we get to that Essence Aura. The other big buff that I really, really like is the Crobolus buff. I know you don't like calling it a buff, Jay, because it's technically a fix. They actually
fix. Yeah.
It's a fix, but it's a fix to Dota. It's a buff in Dota 2. I think it's the way I would word it. But anyway, the ghosts now do an additional 5 damage, I believe, and got 100 movement speed.
Yeah.
Way back in the day, like episode 5 or something of our podcast, we talked about Crobolus, and one of the really kind of unfortunate things about her was like, yeah, her ultimate does a ton of damage if everybody just stands still. She's really good at pushing if she stands still and doesn't have to run around a little bit, but she can't like chase down heroes. And I specifically remember one time where a Razor was just able to outrun all of her ghosts, and they would just go chase and wind up not doing any damage at all. But watching some people play Crobolus recently, that is such a huge buff. And you think about it, the movement speed is overall damage increase as well, because now these ghosts are going out and then returning back to her quickly, making there be more laps that they're going to be making out to a target and back during the duration. The other thing too was when those ghosts return, they heal Crobolus, but the problem was before she would almost have to stop and turn around and give the ghost time to return to her so that she could benefit from that heal. But now that they're moving quicker, she's actually going to be able to take advantage of that heal.
That's true.
I mean, I really like too. You think about the Rod of Atos. I think that's even stronger on her because she's going to be able to slow people down and just be able to punish them with those ghosts.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, either Radavatos or the Scythe of Eyes. I mean, either way, as long as you
Hmm.
can keep them CC'd in some form, yeah. And now, yeah, like they're moving faster. And to give you a heads up, 100 move speed. Imagine having your hero with no boots and then getting boots of travel. That's the difference in speed
Yeah.
these ghosts are getting. I mean, that's substantial. I mean, it's ridiculous. So if you haven't played her yet with this new patch, you should give her a go and just see for yourself what's kind of going on with it. Yeah, it's ridiculous. She's now viable. I guess is a good way to put it. I think.
Well, I mean, that's the thing that I forgot to mention. You think she got picked up a little bit before,
Yeah.
not a ton, but people were still like, yeah, strong pusher, let's pick her up.
Mm-hmm.
But now she's even better, and she has the ability to use those ghosts for kind of ganking as well because they can chase people down. She, I think, got a huge buff with this, and I really hope we get to see her more, especially because the meta is still so focused on pushing and clearing out creep waves and stuff. She's just a perfect hero for what's going on right
I was
now.
gonna say she fits right in. I mean, the
Hmm.
only thing holding her back was her ultimate being weaker, and now that it's up to speed, yeah, I see honestly no reason why she wouldn't be picked up. Especially the silence works so well against him here. Especially you figure like if Anti-Mage gets through the pool, silence is wonderful against him. He can't blink out. He can't get escape as well. Um, she can spam. She's a great hero. It's really hard to deny
Oh
that.
yeah.
If especially if you could build like that Yules, we talked about her for a lot of the different ways we can build her and whatnot. But if figure like if you could Yules yourself, your ghosts still are attacking while you're up in the air, and now that's even stronger. Like there's so many different reasons why I think she's going to be used, and I really can't wait to see how it happens. Unfortunately, I think at least like I'm looking at the defense tournament because that's the only one I really know what's going on right now. I don't think there's any
Hmm.
other ones in the works right now, or I haven't heard of. But I think they still use the tournament client until the tournament's over, unfortunately. So we probably won't see her at the end of these games, but still, yeah, going forward, I definitely agree. I think she's going to be picked up and used well.
Yeah, I actually I randomly just watched a game that Cinder to play like on his live stream, and he used her. Picked up that Rod of Atos as the first item, and yeah, it was really fun to watch. So it's good to see that competitive players are picking her up and trying stuff out with her. So hopefully we will get to see her pretty soon. There's also some changes not to heroes that happened in this patch that were pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah. So they introduced single draft. This isn't so much for the competitive scene, but it's for all of us as a player base. So if you remember that from Dota 1 or other game or Heroes of New Earth, I guess. But if you don't know what it is, basically you go into Champion Select. Instead of having all the heroes available, you get one of each type. So you have a choice of one Strength hero, one Agility, and one Intellect, and those are chosen at random for you. So you get three choices, and you based on your team. Hopefully you can discuss with them. All right, I'm gonna go this int hero. So you guys should try to pick based on that. You it obviously it limits you, but it's. I think a lot of people enjoy it, so they don't really have to like stare at this list of like 65 heroes and be like, oh, who do I play? Oh, I only have 40 seconds now to decide. Oh God, the creep spawned. I don't have a hero yet. Like it's for those people who are kind of indecisive, but also just want to mix it up. It's a lot of fun to try out, I guess. They also introduced repicking. So basically,
There you go.
if you have a hero and your team all starts picking heroes that are like, oh, now I don't want this guy, or you random and you're bad, whatever the reason is, now you can just hit the repick button. It does cost you 100 gold off your starting gold, but you get to choose a new hero, so that's really cool. The grid mode and shop. So basically, that's not
Oh,
like, I mean, it's a big change, but it's not a big change. It'll save you time, I guess, if you're efficient with it. Basically, the original setup of the shop is, there's the different tabs. Each one has a list of items, and it has the name spelled out, the item you can buy. And you have to click through the tabs to decide which ones you want to buy. Now, if you click this grid mode, all it is it lists just the pictures of the items in each category. So you don't have to click through the categories. The only things you have to click is between, I think what's the first one? It's like basic or starting, and then there's upgrades,
yeah,
the second
upgrades.
tab. So that's the only thing you have to go between, the two tabs. And on each one, you'll see all the pictures of the items, and you can just buy them. And it saves so much time.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really dumb criticism of the save things, but I just wish you could, as soon as you started, you automatically had a setup save to that hero, so just go up to the top and then click the actual save preferences that you wanted.
It does
ridiculous.
Waste 10 seconds of your time.
Exactly. I mean, what if I want to smoke gank my own forest right off the bat? Can't do that very efficiently.
Yeah.
But no, it's a really nice setup. I really like it a lot. I'm glad they did it. It's very Dota 1 War 3 shop-esque.
Yeah.
So a very nice, simple way of presenting the shop to players that are already very familiar with the items and such. I think I'll probably be using it more often than not myself.
Yeah, and I like how there's the option. You can either do the default way, which is, for new players a lot helpful because it has the names. People are like, oh, I know he said to build with this Mystic Staff. I can see this is a Mystic Staff, kind of thing. But for us advanced players who've played the game a while, we know what everything is. We don't want to waste our time going through it now. So yeah, I think it's great to have both those as an option.
Yeah, definitely. Well, those were, I think, the big changes.
Those are the big changes, yeah.
Then, of course, we have to come down to our buddy Outworld Destroyer.
Yes.
Oh, so excited. I'm going to go ahead and run through his abilities real quick. His Q is Arcane Orb. This is an auto-cast orb effect that adds extra damage based on the percentage of his available mana. Starts at 6%, increases up to 9% the ranks evenly. Has a 100 mana cost at all levels. Also does bonus damage to illusions, so important to keep in mind if you're playing against Darkseer, for instance. So that is a toggle on and off orb effect. Astral Imprisonment allows you to phase a hero out of combat, I guess is the best way to say it. They are hidden, invulnerable, disabled. They can't cast anything. Nothing can be cast on them except for your own ultimate, actually. It steals intelligence from the hero that you banish. The steal duration, the duration that you get the mana for, is 60 seconds, and the duration on this goes from 1 to 4 seconds. Cooldown starts at 18 seconds, goes to 12, and the mana cost starts at 120 and goes up to 180. You can use it on friendly targets, which is really cool. You won't take int from them, but yeah, you can help try and get them out of a sticky situation, perhaps. His third ability is Essence Aura. Passive aura in a 1,000 radius around them.
Pick him.
Yeah, this is stupid. Oh man, he gets a bonus to his own mana pool. Awesome. He also gives you a chance to restore 25% of your mana pool. Yeah, the chance goes from 10% at rank 1 to 40% at the max rank. He gets 75 mana. At the first rank, goes up to 300. So very awesome ability. And then, of course, there's his ultimate, Sanity's Eclipse. This is an AoE, which the radius of which increases as you level it up. That does a multiplied amount of damage based upon the difference between you and your targets, or the people in the radius's intellect. So there's a certain amount of mana, or there's a certain difference that there has to be between your and your opponent's intellect that will either do damage, drain the hero's mana, or do nothing. So there's this potential where if you're really fat, you have a lot of intelligence, you can do a ton of damage with this. Hopefully you'll have enough intellect through the course of the game that you'll be able to at least drain the mana, but there's sort of this drawback where you can potentially not do anything. Of course, if you use that with your Astral Imprisonment, you can give yourself cement, steal cement from your opponents to help make that threshold a little bit easier to hit. At rank 3, there has to be a difference of 50 between you and your opponent's intellect in order to do the damage.
Wow. That much?
Yes, that was... yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and it's a 10 times multiplier.
Upgradable by Scepter, too.
Yes, that increases the cast radius as well as range. Pardon me, sir. Increases the range and then increases the damage multiplier by 1.
Woo! Actually, dude, the radius increases on its own every rank, too, which is awesome.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I understand that. 160-second cooldown does not decrease as you level it up. 175 starting mana cost up to 325. So I'll let you go ahead and take this away, buddy. What are your thoughts on this crazy destroyer fellow?
Well, I know we've mentioned him in the past, and I've mentioned him as not necessarily a counter to Anti-Mage, but really a strong carry that can do well. I mean, and like the reason I say against Anti-Mage, I mean, yes, Anti-Mage, obviously, Anti-Mage. He burns mana and everything. You're like, oh, he's going to go through all your mana. First of all, you're stacking in on this hero. So he'd have to attack you a lot of times to burn through your mana pool. I mean, the ultimate can be a dangerous thing. You have to watch out for that depending on how much. But with his Essence Aura, how often are you below 80% mana? Very rarely, let's put it that way. Especially when you get up to that max rank. It's nearly impossible to run out of mana. You'd have to get some unlucky streaks going. I just want to mention, because I don't think you did, his Arcane Orb is pure damage, which is
Oh no, I did not.
silly. I mean,
Yeah, I mean that's going to allow you to go through the pipe of insight if someone uses that.
Right.
Actually, we talked about it in episode 10 of our podcast when we were talking with Bonk. For some reason, we brought up Silencer and his ability to carry, and one of the things that Bonk pointed out was, well, yeah, if you have the BKB, you stop the glaive attack because it's magic damage. But because this is true damage, you're going to still be doing this extra damage,
right.
Through that BKB, which is fantastic. Yep.
So he never is weak, auto attacking wise. He always going to do his damage. He's always going to be a beast. He is a squishy guy. We'll give him that, especially because you're building intellect. So a lot of the times you're actually not as tanky. And some people build him more that pure deeps, just scythe and just give me all the intellect so I can ulti and kill everyone, hopefully in one shot. But then, I guess the variations are there. But honestly, I do see him maybe not every game, but it's only because of this meta and how it's about focused on a lot of pushing. Not to say his aura would not be good for pushing. I could totally see it being good for pushing. But generally, people like to pick up more of like a tanky carry that can sit up there in the front lines, do their damage. And he honestly, I mean, first of all, his orb doesn't affect buildings, so he can only be good against heroes, really. And while his ultimate's really good for team fights, he's not really a good pusher. So I don't know if he'll be picked up all the time, but I can definitely see him entering the competitive scene. What do you think?
I definitely think so too. The big thing that sort of Essence R made me think about him in the competitive scene is we actually don't see Crystal Maiden as much anymore. And I think a lot of that's because teams generally get into push mode and start stacking up on top of each other very quickly now. And the kind of benefit of Crystal Maiden R is because it's global, you're always going to have that benefit across the map. The nice thing about Destroyer is now, because if you do start to group up to push those towers early, you're never going to have problems with mana once that starts leveling up. You think about heroes that really have issues with mana, like Tidehunter, Vengeful Spirit, like these sort of one-trick ponies sort of that have their kind of combo to do and they're sort of out of mana. Sven even we saw picked up fairly recently by Dendi. He kind of can stun, Warcry, ult, and then that's about it as far as mana is concerned. This Essence R really gives those heroes the ability to sort of spam those abilities that really make them strong. The one lane I really want to run would be Clockwork and Outworld Destroyer. I think that would be fantastic, just rocket spam. Oh, but yeah, like you said, because this Essence R, you can pretty much just have your Arcane Orb on all the time once you get up to rank 3 and 4 of the Aura. So you never really have to be concerned with mana. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, there was a time when it used to be back in Dota 1, and I know it doesn't really affect it, but it used to be diminished. So if he had that on autocast, it had a lower chance to proc his aura for himself. I think it was like down to 25% at the last rank instead of 40. So it was a pretty substantial thing. You actually had to orb block sometimes to make sure you stayed near max mana, but now they obviously decided they didn't want that to work that way. And now it doesn't matter, autocast or not, 40% all the time, and 25% of your mana. I mean, you figure later in the game, he's easily got a mana pool of over 1,000, easily. And then you're spending 100 mana, you get 250 refunded 40% of the time. I mean, the math's right there. There's like no way you could go out of mana. It's ridiculous. So, and like you said, I actually do think the more we talked about it, the more I'm like actually thinking he could fit into this pushing banner just because that aura is so strong. I mean, yeah, you'll have your people in the back, Earthshaker, Slither with his wards. Oh, do his wards proc?
Venomancer, yeah, they do.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It is important to note that there are some abilities that don't proc it. Storm Spirit's ultimate won't.
Yeah.
Voodoo Restoration on Witch Doctor will not. Like the drains won't do it. Like the things that drain your mana over time do not have a chance of proccing the aura. But yeah, Venomancer wards are stupid. And I think one of the things when you're playing Venomancer is a lot of times people will prioritize ranking up the wards, but then they'll start putting points into Poison Sting and stick with one rank of the Venomous Scale. Sometimes they won't even pick up the ultimate right away because it's too mana intensive. If you're spamming the wards, you can't both Gale and ulti and keep up wards all the time.
Yeah.
But you can with this Essence Aura. And I think that's where he really becomes strong. The Arcane Orb is still going to be able to, help you kill creeps. Obviously, it's not AoE or anything, so you're not going to be able to completely clear out waves. But I think just that Essence Aura is going to be really helpful in the current meta.
Him and Leshrac are going to be best friends. And also, I was thinking, it's a hero that's not in the game yet, but I already am thinking ahead because I just love this combination. There's a hero called Bristleback, for those who remember him.
Oh, God.
Strength hero who essentially has 2 moves that cost 30 or 35 mana each. And one does AoE damage, that stacks and does more damage the more you cast it. The other slows someone, and it stacks a slow. 30 or 35 mana each. So every time he casts that, he has a chance to get 25% of his total mana back. So there's...
Yeah,
and those don't have... Well, I think they have like a 2 or 3 second cooldown. Something ridiculously short. So you could basically spam it the whole time. That lane, I can't wait to see how imbalanced that is. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, the things I was really excited about were like Tide, and Vengeful Spirit especially too. When you have sort of abilities like the Anchor Smash, like stuff that you can just sort of hit just for the sake of doing it. And then of course too with Shaker, like you're saying, the Enchant Totem. Like now you can just sort of just use these willy-nilly just for the sake of trying to get your your mana back in this. And we've seen teams run around with 2, 3 pairs of Arcane Boots. And so now if you have Outworld Destroyer in your lineup, you can kind of not build 3 pairs of Arcane Boots. You can maybe get away with just one.
You can travel on everyone.
Yay!
Dude, yeah, you actually reminded me oh boy. I had a thought.
That's fantastic.
Did I?
Can I
you can take
give
it
you
back.
time to think
Oh,
of it?
no. It's interesting to actually think about how Essence Aura, he could would you think, since obviously you normally want to build him nice, get him items and be really high high damage, but could he play a support role in the lane with his
Yep. Well, I think that's sort of, a good segue into how you build them. I've seen a lot of people avoid the Arcane Orb. Even when they play like solo, they try and skill up the Astral Imprisonment first because you're stealing the int. You can disable a lot of heroes. I was actually watching a game earlier today where it was Pudge versus Outworld Destroyer. Pudge had 6 mana because Destroyer had just sucked it all out of him. And so a Pudge with 6 mana is not scary at all, especially against a ranged hero. There's now no fear of you getting hooked. You can just sit in the lane and farm. Although, unfortunately, you wouldn't have this problem in the competitive scene, but the people that were watching were having trouble last-hitting the creeps, which is a little unfortunate. So they actually wound up getting a little under-farmed because they were, I guess, so focused on keeping the mana down on the person they were laning against that they weren't as focused on farming. But, I think, personally, for me playing them, I'd probably pick up, 1 rank of the Arcane Orb, prioritize the Essence Aura, and then pick up Astral Imprisonment after that.
Yeah.
At least getting.
I mean, early on, you don't have a huge mana pool, so 6% of, let's say, 500 mana. Oh God, why did I just make myself do a math question really quick?
I'll give you an out. It's okay. You can take it back.
Hold on, go say something while I get a calculator open.
Oh my God. The thing I do like too is he's stealing the int and stuff. Like that's nice. He has the Essence Aura. I would pick up the Q with the Arcane Orb, if for nothing else, to try and get some of those last hits on creep to ensure yourself some farm. People are going to be able to try and deny your creeps, but if you're doing that extra damage, you're going to be able to secure creep kills a lot easier. And also, yeah, it's really expensive. It's 100 mana, but you're also going to have the chance to proc some of your mana back. So yeah, when you only have the Essence or a rank 1 or 2, that's sort of a dangerous thing to do. But once you hit 3, then you could probably just do the Orb Walk, like manually cast the Q against heroes to harass or against creeps to last hit them. And then, of course, once you get the R up to 4, you can just run around with it on the whole time.
Well, I just did some math in my head.
Fantastic.
And I figured out, if you had like 500 mana, 6% is about 30. That's about 30 damage if you have 500 mana. And that's if you're maxed at mana, because it's remaining. So obviously that keeps going down and down. You'll probably on average hit for about 20 or so early on in the piece. So, I mean, definitely not a thing to focus your points into until you get more items and get that bigger int, so you can actually make use of another 1% of your remaining mana. Which is why I guess people like to max out the imprisonment or the essence aura depending on what they decide to do. Some people actually don't even pick up the ulti at level 6. Some people like to wait, and I think it's for the same reason. If you don't have a high int when you cast that, it's not going to do a lot of damage. And I mean, maybe you'd rather instead focus more on the imprisonment to get more int, or because it lasts. Did you say 60? Did you say how long it lasts? It lasts 60 seconds when you steal it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Steal.
So I mean, and that can stack multiple times because it's the spell itself starts at 18-second cooldown, goes down to 12. So if it lasts for 60, you can cast it multiple times, same hero, and you'll get +8 int, and your int will be through the roof, and that's what probably makes them so interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when we've brought them up before, it's mostly been kind of in reference to the ultimate and how much potential damage that can do. I mean, his ultimate is really kind of a runaway with the game, like nail in the coffin, seal the deal, because you just have that much farm. But now that I really kind of take a look at it and we get a chance to see him function in the game, I really think his ultimate is his weakest ability. Everything else is so fantastic. The other nice thing about this Astral Imprisonment, too, the game I was watching earlier today, Outworld Destroyer was playing against Alina that was actually ganking quite a bit. And he actually Astral Imprisonment himself in order to get out of Light Strike Array stuns. So really nice. I mean, yeah, you're not going to be able to run away, but at the same time, you're not stunned. They're being able to take additional damage. So it's a really beautiful out for you to try and avoid some damage, to save some of your allies. I mean, the nice thing about that ability is it's buying you time, essentially. So, like, if you're getting dove at your tower, you can just make yourself not exist for up to 4 seconds so that they have to run away, or they're going to sit inside tower range, give your team time to pour it in and give you support. There's really a lot of stuff you can do with that imprisonment, and I think that's one of the nice things about Destroyer. You were saying earlier before you kind of had to orb walk with him, so there's more depth of play with that ability. But I think there's so much nuance with Astral Imprisonment and the kind of items you're going to be picking up on him that he's still a really complex hero, and I really enjoy him.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to see that kind of high-level play. I mean, nothing's going to be... I think Invoker is going to take the cake always on the most complex hero to play, or most in-depth. But, I mean, yeah, he definitely has some tools at his disposal that you'll see a higher-skilled player do it better, essentially. Like, I mean, all players will be able to turn that on auto-cast his Orb Ball and just LOL attack people. But, yeah, I think the Astral Imprisonment, the ulti... are really going to show, I guess, the different skill levels there. I agree. I'm wondering, I don't think it says how much it gets reduced if they're within that range. How much does that damage get reduced? Do you have any idea?
Damage reduced?
Yeah, if they're within that range, it still does some damage, but then they lose the 75% of the mana. But it's not a lot. I don't think it specifies, so
it's not
it's
range.
A lot lower.
I'm confused. If it's based on the difference between your intelligence. If the difference isn't big enough, then it will drain 75%
so it still does that, but just as
mana.
lower. That makes sense. Why did I think it was reduced?
I don't know. Because you're silly.
I'm a silly bear.
Yeah, I mean, it's like most of the time you think, even if you were to play Destroyer support, this is something we don't actually talk about a lot on this podcast, but the natural stat gains from leveling up, Outworld Destroyer gets 3.3 intellect per level, which is rather high. Actually, I have a nice little question for you after I finish this point that you get to try and answer. It's a nice little trivia fact. I hope you're excited.
I am so excited.
Oh, I know. So you figure, support heroes aren't going to be building in items. So at the very least, you're going to be able to drain the mana of these support heroes. These heroes are trying to sit in the back and just, provide CC and whatever. So I think that's a nice thing that even if you do play him support, you can at least try and counter out other supports to a certain degree. You ready for the question?
I'm born ready.
Okay, so here's how we're gonna play this game. All right,
Oh boy.
you get 3 guesses. Every time you guess wrong, I will give you a more blatant clue as to who the hero is.
Oh God.
What hero in Dota 1, or in Dota, in the world of Dota, has the highest stat gain per level of any hero? I will give you the first hint and say that this is a hero that is in Dota 2 already.
Well, I'm gonna have to guess that it's not Outworld Destroyer since, even though
I
that
kind of
would be
just said
blatantly
that.
obvious.
Yeah.
Did you?
Well, yeah, I
Oh.
said he didn't have the highest, but it's relatively high.
That's in the game. That would have been
In Dota
hilarious if
2.
it was Goblin Techies, by the way. So it's overall stat gain per level.
Yeah. For their primary stat.
Oh, for the primary stat.
I mean, your primary stat's the one that's going to be
More flame.
leveling up the most. No. This hero is an int hero.
Oh.
So so you're one guess down.
Oh no. I'm not gonna get this. I already know.
I believe in you.
Believe in the heart of the cards, they say.
By the way, it's four int per level.
Holy
this hero
moly!
gets.
It's gonna be a hero that doesn't even make sense probably to me. But I'll go with it. Oh, it's not him. Oh God.
Got it, buddy. I believe in you. Heart of the cards.
Pugna.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yes. Oh my
How
God.
did you guess Pugna?
Yes.
How do you guess
I-
Pugna?
You
Like-
said for a level to just rang a bell.
Didn't Google it all, I bet.
No, I really didn't. I'm literally just looking at
Just
a picture of the
random
hero
stuff.
icons on Dota, and I went with that. Oh
Who
my God! I
should
could have
be-
cheated so easily. I just realized
Yeah, you
that. I could have moused over it and saw it. Now I feel stupid. I could have got it right away.
You are stupid.
Dang it.
So,
Hey,
well, I'm impressed, honestly.
thank you.
My next hints were going to be benefits from Aghanim Scepter upgrade.
Oh.
And then the last one, which I feel like would have been pretty obvious, would have been makes his cooldown on his ultimate go to 0 with the scepter.
Yeah, that would have been.
Yeah, that would have probably given it away.
Oh my gosh, I thought it was either him or Storm, like a hero that. See, the thing is, when I was saying like Morphling stuff, like I figured it might be a hero that like would benefit the most from having the most game, but maybe that's why it's not. Because if they benefit the most, then that's gonna make them OP. Not OP, but you know what I mean. It's gonna be a lot stronger. So I guess that's why I started to shy away from like Storm Spirit and heroes like that. Pugna.
There you go. You learn something new every
I
day.
did. Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, the best kind of counters to Outworld Destroyer are going to be heroes like Storm Spirit, that are going to want to kind of get in items as well, and are going to have a high amount of intelligence naturally, because then the ultimate literally will do nothing if they have more int than you. So that's something you always have to keep in mind when you're playing him. Is you have that potential of doing nothing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the potential of doing nothing. You have to be having a pretty bad game, to be honest. Like, if you're not getting in times, I guess support Obsidian might have some issues with or not issues, but it's definitely not going to be anywhere as effective as you'd want it to be. She'd have to, because you think about it, support heroes, they buy like Mechanism, the pipe, like things that are like aura or supporty, not like straight int. Like, how many support items can you justify? You could maybe say Yules, you could maybe say Force Staff, right? But nothing like super high int. So
No, I agree.
It's interesting.
I think though, like I was saying earlier, is at least if you're playing support Destroyer, you would be able to drain the mana of other
That's
ints
very
because you're going to say roughly you probably have more int based just on
And
your
definitely have the
natural
strength
gains.
heroes and the agility heroes. You'll still have more than
Yeah.
them regardless.
I just got to go back real quick because I just remembered this. I've been really excited for some reason about Io
Oh,
from
boy.
Dota 1 coming over.
You have been.
Io has a
Overly.
1.9 strength gain, and he's a strength hero.
That's awful.
Yeah. It's
Well, what's other
it's
strength
abysmal.
hero ratios? Oh god, they're so much
they're
higher.
fine.
They're so much higher.
I mean, they're typically actually, yeah. I mean,
Oh.
generally you think it's between 2.5 and 3.5. Then some heroes have like I think 3.5 is like really high actually. I think Phantom Assassin has 3.5. Might be only a couple other heroes that
You're
have
not going to
that.
want to hear what I just looked at.
What?
I knew it too.
What?
Guess who has a higher strength gain than your buddy Io?
Is it Treant Protector?
It's Techies.
Are you
He
serious?
has 2.
Wow.
That's
That-
wonderful. Oh,
Yeah.
my gosh.
Io doesn't have any 2.0 or
Why
higher.
are his stat gains
gains.
so awful?
I
He
don't
must
know.
be
He's-
OP. He must be really strong or something, man.
That's what I'm hoping because
That's awful, man.
oh
goodness.
man. Well, what can you do?
play
Anyway,
him.
back to no. He's gonna get played, and people are gonna suffer because of it,
Yeah,
and I'll
probably.
be a-okay. Let's see. Let's talk about items. Why don't we?
We
I mean-
shall. Yes.
Obviously, we've kind of made it pretty clear and apparent that you want to stack up the old int items. What kind of items would you say are like top priority for you?
Mystic Staff.
Just 8 of them.
Honestly, you want to
6?
rush the Mystic Staff as quick as possible. Not 100% of the time. I guess that's more if you're having a snowball kind of game. Like if you can get some early kills, get really good farm in the laning phase. If you can get one of those early and then ult in a team fight, like right after that, you're going to notice the crazy amounts of damage that ultimate does. Yeah, obviously, I like to prioritize. I like to build them not as tanky, but more of a kind of just nuker, burn you down kind of hero. In that case, obviously, the Scythe is one of his best options just because you can CC someone, and usually you can honestly kill them in that time period. Like 3.5 seconds of auto attacks coming from you are going to hurt. Also, like I said, anything that has high intellect, Yules is an interesting pickup, not great necessarily, but it just provides, I like it for like the survivability factor. You can get out of that if they initiate on you, you can either banish or Yules, a lot of different choices. Force Staff's actually really common, at least in the Pug games. And that, I mean, the reason being, it's so versatile of an item, first of all. You can use it either to escape or to initiate, chase down people, that kind of thing. So, either way, as long as you either get a Mystic Staff or, what's it called? Staff of Wizardry?
Staff of Wizardry, yeah.
Anything that, like, just pure base intellect is going to... Don't go Ring of Basilisk, whatever you do, please. I've seen that on him, and I just want to slap the person every time. Like, what are you thinking? What is going through that brain?
On that note, I saw an item that I really like on Destroyer is actually the Rod of Atos because
yeah.
you were saying earlier, he is a bit of a glass cannon. The nice thing though is you get 2 staves of wizardry, and then you get the vitality booster, which will give you some additional health. Yeah, I mean it's not like all the health in the world, but it is going to help you survive, and it's straight in, as well as a slow, which means you're going to be able to keep people in range for a longer duration for your auto attacks. And also, if somebody's chasing you down, you can slow them down and get away. I saw a game today where a Pudge built one.
Really?
I'm not.
That's awful.
I'm just gonna.
That's awful. I can say so many reasons why that's awful.
I don't like calling people bad.
No, I'm not calling him bad. I'm saying the choice was bad. The player could have been Dendy, and I just would have hated that choice over and over. I'm gonna just say, I'm gonna say the reasons because I just can't stand it.
Okay.
He has a slow with Rot off the bat, so he doesn't need another one.
Yeah, but it's less than half the
2,
slow of the Rod of
2,
Atos. So.
2. Staff of Wizardry, I would much rather see, if you're going to buy that item on him, first of all, turn it into a Force Staff on him at least. You can use that so many better ways. You could go over text terrain. You can push yourself forward, get the hook range, and hit someone. If you're looking for an item on him, that's the item you want, not a Raw Vatos. I do understand with the Vit booster coming in there, it makes him a little tankier, I guess. But he doesn't, first of all, he doesn't need that much mana. Like, that's just overkill. And like I said, the slow, no, just no. Oh, no.
He keeps getting prison, Jay. So he needs.
Oh, is that what it's? Is that why?
Well, and then the other thing too is you slow him, right? So that way you can be guaranteed the hook.
That's not even a guarantee for some people.
Mostly guarantee the hook.
No, that's why you build. Oh God, what's the item? The other new item. The oh boy, the attack thing.
Visibly?
Is that it?
The stun? I don't know what the range on that is though. It might be too long, or not long enough. I mean,
run up and stun.
The rod is like it's a range thing, so that way you can slow him then hook. You know. Get the Rod of Atos and get Force Staff. So that way you push yourself up into range for the Rod of Atos, and then you throw the hook.
I'm very disappointed with
New meta.
Everything said. Because the Force Staff and the Rod of Atos have the same 800 range. So would you rather be 800 units closer as Pudge?
Mm-hmm.
Or try to slow somebody 800 away? Second of all, your video messed up.
What?
So go ahead and call me back, and I'll keep going with how Pudge is an awful person. 800 range obviously is just the clear idea there. Are you with me? Are you back with me?
I agree.
Yeah, don't you? I was just talking about how smelly your feet were, and it's just very smelly.
Well, my apologies.
Smell-o-vision, I gotta disable that.
There you go. Yeah, I like the Rod of Atos a lot on Obsidian. I do like the Force Staff. I'm not sure which one I'd rather have. I mean, I think obviously the Force Staff.
Very situational.
Well, I mean, it's more utility. I mean, you can use that in a lot of different ways. You can use that in conjunction with other heroes that might need help with initiation, like Tidehunter even. You can just help them get in quicker. You can push people, like you said, over terrain, so that way you can make some things happen there, whereas the slow is just, the slow. I was thinking like Orchid Malevolence, but the problem is that item is so much regeneration and just damage that you're not really taking as much advantage of the int. The other nice thing about stacking all this int too, just ignoring the ultimate, is you're getting damage based on your available mana. Now, I am an art major. I will be the first to admit math, not my strong suit. Mm-hmm. But because you're an int hero, right, you're getting 1 damage per int. You're also getting 10 mana. So with 4 points in the orb, you're getting 9% of 10 mana, which in most cases is 1. So you're basically getting 2 points of damage per point of int.
Yeah.
So you're getting just a lot of straight damage off that. Now, obviously, as you start running out of mana, that diminishes slightly per point. But because you have that aura, you're most of the time at least going to be above 50%. So you can at least say you're getting 1.5 damage per int.
Exactly. And how many things provide that for other people? Ricky might be the only one that competes. So yeah, very strong choice too. It's just like Ricky. He's like the int version of Ricky in that sense. You just want to go straight for your primary attribute and don't look back. I kind of like the Rod of Atos actually just because it does provide that little bit of tankiness to help. Because he's a super squishy hero, and his only form of escape is to banish himself. So essentially, for 4 seconds, he's not helping his team with auto attacks, which is his or his aura. Actually, his aura might still affect people if he's in the banish. But either way, he's not nearly as effective, let's be honest. So you kind of want something more to just let you survive in the team fight instead of, what I was saying.
I mean, the nice thing, too, about some of these item pickups is you can sort of get a little tankier as you go along. Like the sheep stick you're picking up an ulti orb, so that's going to give you some strength. I don't really think the scepter is worth picking up, but if you did decide to go that way, you're going to get some strength out of that to give you some health. But yeah, I think the rod actually makes a lot of sense. Obviously, I think we could both agree that you're going to want to go steam boots.
Yeah.
Yes?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So that way you can shift them to intellect before you drop your ulti to help make that gap bigger for you, so you can do more damage. Yeah.
Well, I just did some quick math in my head here with the
Uh-oh.
Agumons. So
Mhm.
one more times the difference in your intellect. Let's do an extreme case. Let's say you're using it on a strength hero that has a 70 intellect difference, which is pretty high. Like he'd have to have not a lot of stats. That's 70 more damage on him.
Yeah.
And then
I mean,
reduce that because it's magic damage by magic resist.
Mhm.
And you're not gaining intellect. You're only gaining a little bit of intellect. It's mostly it gives you health and mana, and then strength, agility, and a little bit of it. So yeah, you're not even really gaining a lot of your. It doesn't seem worth it in the end. If it was like reduced cooldown, then it would be something worthwhile maybe.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of one of the unfortunate things. A lot of these items, it's like, yeah, they would function just fine, but you get a lot of stats you don't need. Like I was saying with the Oblivion staff, you're getting mana regeneration. Well, that's obviously not an issue because you have the aura. So yeah, that's kind of stuff you have to mess with. I was thinking like, oh, if you were like really hurting, getting like locked down or something, and you didn't want to like go as far as getting like a BKB against casters, you could go for Lincoln Sphere because that'll give you some int, but then you're also getting mana regeneration through that, and then a lot of agility that you don't necessarily need from the Ulti Orb, and it's just kind of an expensive item in the first place. So it's kind of weird because there's some items that you would think like would be all right, but when you have the ability to just go for these high int items, that's always an option. Shiva's Guard is would be really good against attack heroes, the auto attack heroes, but yeah, casters I think are really kind of a good way to take care of him. Yes.
So a troll item our friend brought up. Well, it's not 100% troll, but
Okay.
when
90%
Bonk was talking about, he finished his last game he played OD with a refresher orb. So the item itself gives health regen, mana regen, 40 damage, 6 intellect, intelligence rather, and
That's awesome.
obviously it refreshes all your cooldowns, so your ultimate comes back. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like it could be really impressive. If like, let's say you're in a team, I think it depends on your team comp. Like, let's say you have Enigma or Tide Hunter, like someone that can lock down heroes for enough time for you could use a double ultimate in a team fight. But even still, like I said, it's not good. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I would wind up because I think the other thing too, like we've been saying, it's kind of the ultimate in the first place is like very insult to injury kind of thing. So if you're doing so well that you're like, I got enough int, that's fine, and then you're gonna go refresher orb, like I don't know. I feel like it's probably well over by then.
Yeah, most likely. I just
I
thought
would.
it was a concept.
It's definitely fun, but I think I'd much rather have the sheep stick or the rod or anything
It's like a
else.
refresher or a bird shaker. Like, let's just
Oh,
be
okay.
crazy and double ult. Oh no, refresher of Tide Hunter. Why have we not seen that in a pro game where we've seen a couple pro
It's
games
expensive.
where Tide Hunters have been the ones that farm a lane though? Not often, but I think there's been a couple, maybe one. I don't
It
know.
might.
But
It
if
might
he's
be
the one farming,
because
I think that'd be a sweet investment.
you can stop. Anyway,
I can't. It's
you're
a habit.
pounding away over there, buddy.
I'm doing Morse code.
Anyway, I think probably the issue with that might be just his available mana pool.
Oh, that's
Just because
that's
he might
fair.
not have because you'd want him to put the slow and the minus armor on. You'd want him to reduce the damage of heroes with the anchor smash, and then you'd also have to have the mana to ulti twice.
I mean, I guess it was really similar when we were talking about Treant Protector. Like, Refresher Orb was like, everyone thought the number one item. But it was in reality, because his ultimate was the one that entangling roots the whole team and keeps in place. But in reality, he like never had enough mana to double ult. That was like way over his mana pool. So
Yeah, definitely.
I guess I can see that point there. I don't know.
I mean, I was thinking about it before. I was like, I wouldn't really like any of the things that just give you mana. But I guess at the same time, that's going to give you more damage for your Q. But yeah, the only thing that you would probably be going after that would just give you mana would be the staff, the ulti staff. So things to throw out. I'm trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to say. Do you have anything else, buddy?
I was thinking about Refresh Orbs still. And I
Why
think,
still Refresh Orb?
because I'm still stuck on Warlock, too. And if you can get a Warlock that farms and gets...
Yeah.
If you can get a Refresh Orb and an Agumon Scepter, I want to see that in the game. Because his Agumon Scepter increases the number of Infernals, or whatever they're called, from 1 to 2. And then he refreshes it so he gets 4 of these big dudes that stun and do AoE damage and own. How cool would that be? Oh my
That would be pretty hilarious, I must say.
It'd be really hard to pull off, but I think it would
dude.
be awesome.
You want to talk about troll items? You ready
Mhm.
for this one? Veil of Discord on Obsidian Destroyer.
Veil, I'm actually struggling to remember what the heck that item is.
All right, I know. I'll let you know. All right, you ready? It's built out of a Helm of Iron Will, Robes the Magi, and then the recipe, which costs $12.50.
Oh boy.
So the total cost is $26.50.
Well,
Right?
it's like a Mystic Staff.
Yeah. All right. It gives you 5 armor, 5 health regeneration, and 12 intelligence, as well as an active, which applies a debuff on all enemy units in a 500 radius. Are you following along?
I am.
Causing them to have reduced magic resistance for the duration. Amplifies magic damage by 25%. Lasts 15 seconds, costs 75 mana, and has a 30-second cooldown. And a casting range of 875. Are you seeing what's going on in my brain
literally
parts?
Only use that for his ultimate, though.
Yeah. Well, you even have to. Well,
I
okay.
mean, I guess you could use it for your teammates, too. But since your orb is true damage and not
That's
magic,
true.
you're really only buffing your ultimate or your allies.
Wouldn't that be hilarious? Get Veil of Discord and Refresher Orb. And then
And that
use
Draconis
the
hero
veil.
we talked about.
There you go. So
And,
you
it's
just
done.
use
And
the
he
ability.
actually reduces magic armor, if you remember.
I do
Was
not,
one of his
but I'll
moves.
take
I
your
remember
word.
him so well because he sounded so broken.
Yeah, that guy.
Oh,
He'll be interesting to see.
we're not going to talk about him much more because he's not even remotely close to entering the Dota 2 scene in a very long time. So
You know, that's what I would have thought about Outworld Destroyer. I remember we were talking about last week, like, oh, which of these heroes that they've had skins for months do you think is going to get introduced
still
next?
not Bane. Still not poor
Nope.
Bane. He's probably like the last one. They're
Yeah,
gonna
he
like
probably
go
will,
out
just to
techies
mess
next
with us.
week just to mess with everyone. Oh, April Fools! If they say techies on April Fools, that
That
would
would
be
be hilarious.
brilliant. I would totally.
Oh, man.
They should do that.
Hey,
now.
Valve employee, we'll let you have
I
that
know you're
one.
listening, so
Take it and run.
I mean, I think I'm all out of thoughts over here.
Dagon?
Really?
No.
Okay.
But I'm trying to look over the in items that I haven't considered
How to
to see if
troll.
there's anything else. Yeah, exactly. How to troll with Destroyer. I think yeah, like you said, we're about out of stuff to talk about. I'm just gonna say it. I'm not even gonna say maybe, just to force you to do it.
Oh.
We're doing a breakdown right after this, and hopefully we can get some of our friends in there. Maybe we can get Bonk to play this nice Destroyer hero we've been talking about, so you guys get a chance to see him in action. Thank you for tuning in. As always, you're welcome to join us in the IRC at Pound Dota. You're welcome to find us on Facebook at facebook.com/DotaOnDemand. You're also welcome to check us out on the YouTube and the owned.tv. Thanks for joining us again, guys. Hope to see you next week.